Oh, welcome, Leo. Thanks for joining me. Be good to get a quick intro and an idea of your backstory.
Hey, I'm Lior. I run remoterocketship.com, which is a job board for remote jobs. Um, it works slightly differently to most job boards in that I essentially scrape job openings from different websites and collect them all in one place for people to search. Whereas most job boards, companies pay to post their job openings.
Mhm.
I just collect them myself, and then I charge job seekers to search the site for job openings.
Mhm.
Um, People love it because there are tens of thousands more job openings than you find elsewhere usually.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. And how did you end up arriving at that idea, or what was your journey to start your own business?
Yeah, I mean, essentially what happened was that my wife was looking for a job actually.
Hmm.
Um, and I noticed, I mean, she was using LinkedIn and all the other job boards that people use. I noticed that like I knew a whole bunch of companies that were hiring, but she wasn't seeing their job openings.
Hmm.
And so I dug into why this was, and then I learned it was like, companies need to pay to post the job openings, and if a company doesn't want to pay, or for whatever reason doesn't want to advertise it on a certain job board, you're not going to find their jobs. So I thought a better way would be to build something which just goes and collects all the job openings for her to search.
Fantastic. So you found the problem, but you were an engineer before starting when you were an engineer at Meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what led you to step out and think, right, I'm going to start my own business and
So I'd been at Facebook or Meta for close to 5 years. And yeah, I mean, I always wanted to start my own thing, and I just felt like it was a good time, and 5 years it was enough time there. And so I decided to leave. And I spent about a year exploring a few different ideas in different spaces.
Mhm.
Um, and then eventually I landed on remote rocket ship.
Okay, great. And so tell me a bit about launching it. So from the idea of, spotting the problem,
Yeah.
what were your first steps and how did you kind of start?
So essentially I built a pretty I tried to build the website as quickly as possible. I think in the end it took me about 3 weeks to put everything together.
Mhm.
Um, and then when I launched, my launch was essentially I shared the job board on socials, and I also shared it on Reddit.
Mhm.
And actually on Reddit it did really well. I mean there were like a handful of communities that were, it got like thousands of upvotes, and I think if I remember now, like in the first few days, I got something like 150,000 unique visitors to the website. It was huge.
Wow. And do you think
Uh,
that's just because the concept resonated, like uncovering, the maximum amount of remote jobs or?
yeah, I think what really resonated with people is actually just remote jobs. People really want to work remotely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's it. And then just like the fact that there were thousands of them, like people loved it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, yeah. Also, funnily enough, there was a specific community which really loves my jobs. It's called the overemployed
Right. Okay.
community.
Yeah.
uh, which essentially, so being overemployed is this idea that you have, two or three or four full-time jobs
Yeah.
uh, that you usually, I guess, working remotely, right? And you're trying to juggle between them,
Yeah.
uh, earning, all these full-time salaries. And so people love my website because they can find remote jobs, which lets them be overemployed.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. And then obviously they're going borderless with that as well. So anywhere in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so remote doesn't mean anywhere in the world
Okay.
usually. Um,
Okay.
Most companies will only hire people in the country that they're based in, and this is usually for like legal and tax and all sorts of reasons.
Yeah. Okay.
A
So you
company
got,
has to pay you like a salary and tax and benefits and things like that if you're a full-time employee.
yeah. Fair enough. So you got all this massive traffic from Reddit, so you must have felt like that was validation on the kind of concept, and that
Yeah.
was worth like, exploring further or building out further. And what happened next?
So at this point, actually, the entire website was free and I wasn't making money. And then I thought I would go down the usual route of, trying to charge businesses to pay to post their listings there and get them more candidates. This actually didn't work for me at all. I think after about 2 months of trying this, I got maybe one person to pay $200 for a job posting, and that person was an acquaintance of mine anyways.
Yeah, fair.
And so I think the reason why this was that, just the way the job market is right now, especially in tech, where, lots of layoffs, so lots more candidates than job openings. And I think also the other reason why it doesn't work is that even if you are a company and you do want to post your job listing somewhere, there are lots of other sites which will get you enough candidates.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So eventually I decided, okay, well, maybe I should flip the business model and try charging job seekers. And I didn't think it would work, but I thought to try it anyways. And initially I ran it as an A/B test and
Yeah.
only rolled it out to 10% of my users because I was really scared that if I turned it on to everybody, it would just kill the whole website. I would lose the tens of thousands of visitors I had every month.
Yeah.
But actually, after I think it was maybe 2 weeks, actually I did get some sales from rolling it out to a small bunch of people. So I decided to roll it out to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that being scary. Just, I guess conceptually, even it's just not, it's going against the grain, zigging when everyone else is zagging. So yeah, I guess it would be scary. And the split, you've got a fantastic article on Substack around your A/B testing as well, which I'll also link to.
Yeah.
But your process on that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, so roll that from there, and then double down on the candidate side.
Yeah. Yeah. That was just trying to actually so now my focus is trying to make the candidate experience as best as possible. And most people really just want to find more job openings, so just trying to find more and more job openings for candidates.
Yeah, yeah. And has it been quite a smooth growth? Obviously, that first couple of months of trying to sell to the employer side was difficult. Has it
Yeah.
been smooth sailing in terms of the growth? Has it been linear?
Yeah, I mean the growth has been, I would say, slow and steady. Definitely not hockey stick growth, definitely linear. But pretty consistent, growing slowly.
Right. And was there any particular low points for you in that kind of launch? Because was it November 22 that you launched?
Yeah, I think November 22 or maybe even early December.
Okay.
No, I mean not. I wouldn't say there are particular low points. Obviously, sometimes it's a revenue dips
Yeah.
during I don't know, Christmas break or something, and that's always me questioning whether I can pull this off or not.
Okay.
But otherwise, I think just because the growth has been pretty steady,
Yeah.
so far so good.
No complaints. And what does your current structure look like today? Is it just you working on it?
Yeah, it's actually just me. Actually, I have a full-time job actually as well.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. All right.
Yeah. So I guess you could say I'm overemployed myself.
Yeah.
So doing this and my full-time job, I find that I can being this job board, it sort of almost runs itself. And so if there are periods where my full-time job demands more hours, I can put more time into that. Or if not, I can put more time into the job board depending on how busy things are.
So this is super interesting. So you left a full-time job to start it, and then
Yeah.
at some point during that journey, obviously you're quite enamored with the overemployed group as well.
So
Did you think, oh, I'll take up a 9 to 5 again.
yeah, no. So I took up the full-time job when I launched and I was trying to sell doing the B2B business model. So when I hadn't monetized it and I wasn't making any money from it.
Yeah.
It was only after I got the full-time job that I started monetizing it. And so it started picking up steam from there.
Okay. And so has that forced you into running it in quite a lean fashion then, because purely from a time perspective?
Yeah. I must say, like having this time constraint can actually be very helpful because it forces me to be very focused and very intentional about where I put in my effort for the website. Whereas I think if I had, not unlimited time, but a full day's work, I might delve into things which maybe weren't so impactful or weren't so worth the while. And so now I have to be super focused, super intentional about where my effort is going.
Fantastic. And did you find that things started to accelerate when I guess the pressure was off a little bit, when you had a 9 to 5 with a good income? Do you find that then things improved on your project?
I wouldn't say. I mean, I would what maybe improved was my mental state of mind. I
Yeah.
felt like there was less pressure on the website to earn income because I had income coming from other sources.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I guess it's allowed me to maybe just enjoy the process a bit more. And so let's say if revenue from the website is down, I'm not as stressed out
Yeah.
because it's not my only source of income.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a trend that's emerging actually. Just I think when like all the chips on making it work, things seem to like accelerate a bit further, and might be because that mental state as well. Just things are like a bit more chilled, and I know with my own job board as well, when I was trying to like push it hard on a B2B basis, it wasn't really moving along. But when I step back, it seems to have you know
Yeah.
gained a bit of a force of its own. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a trend. So what's life like now, like juggling 9 to 5 and the project?
I mean, it's still pretty comfortable. I can put in as much time as I want into the job board.
Yeah,
It's not too demanding. It runs itself, so it's only if I want to try and move things forward in a certain way, I have to put some time in. But it's pretty flexible.
yeah, yeah. So
Mm.
like evenings, weekends, you might just pick it up, or you might have a little sprint on some future build or something.
Yeah, yeah, essentially that.
Yeah, yeah. And do you have to put a lot of time into the marketing side, or have you managed to automate that quite a bit?
That's pretty much automated. So my main channel is Google, especially like Google for Jobs.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, and so that's all automated. Of course, I am always terrified that one day Google will decide not to show my website or, uh,
yeah.
you just decide that, like, I
Yeah,
don't, not to send people to my website anymore. So I'm terrified that, I do feel like I do need another marketing channel, but
yeah.
uh, haven't quite figured out what that should be yet.
Fair enough. And so we like to kind of teach through this newsletter. So is there anything you can kind of show or share with us today around like how you operate or
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I have a good thing to show and tell. I don't have any sort of secret productivity hacks or tips or things that are unknown. Um, yeah, I mean, I think maybe the one thing that maybe I do differently from most other people is I like to A/B test changes on the website a lot, especially if they're going to affect revenue.
yeah, yeah,
Um, that just makes me more comfortable in knowing that I'm making the right decision. And actually, a lot of the times, something that I thought is going to improve revenue actually doesn't, or even decreases it. So,
right. I mean, is that a process you can show us or talk us through, or maybe like an example of where it worked and where it didn't?
yes. If you
I
give
mean,
me,
I remember reading that article and it being like super insightful, and the fact that you test changes and even revenue model changes on 10% of your audience sounds really interesting.
yeah, maybe if you give me a moment, I'll bring up
Yeah,
my article. I'll talk through some of my A/B tests. But I mean, I think that doing the A/B testing themselves, doing the A/B tests themselves, I think is pretty straightforward these days.
yeah,
Lots of software to use it. I use Posthog because I work there, but
yeah,
also it's great.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's
uh,
good. You can go to Posthog as well. So what is Posthog?
I mean, Posthog is essentially it's an all-in-one tool for developers for making for building software.
Okay.
So it includes things like product analytics, A/B testing, feature flags, session replays, surveys, things like this. Things
Yeah.
that help you build better websites.
All right, great.
Um, yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll talk about maybe like the 6 different A/B tests that I ran initially
Yeah.
and how maybe some of the results and what were surprising for me or not. These were all to do around pricing.
Okay. Perfect.
Uh, yeah. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. That'll be definitely of interest to readers.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously the first one was actually just moving the job board behind the paywall, so people had to pay to use the site.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that one already was, I rolled it out initially to 10% of users just to see if people were actually willing to pay.
Yeah.
And I think after 2 weeks, maybe had like 10 signups or something. And I was like, great, this is making now $100 a month. If I roll it to everyone, maybe I can get to 1,000, and which I did.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And so, yeah, so that the initial test was just to see that, if I could roll out 10%, would somebody pay? And I didn't want to scare off all my traffic.
No. No.
The second experiment I did was actually I tried then to double my price.
Right.
So instead of users had to pay $10 a month, and I tried changing it now to $20 a month.
Yeah.
And the hypothesis was I would get less signups, but overall, I would be making more revenue.
Yeah.
Because I had a feeling that $10 a month was maybe a bit too cheap.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But essentially, like, people didn't like the $20 per month pricing, and and like I think my overall conversions or signups decreased by like 66%.
Right. Okay.
So overall, my revenue was down.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, the third one I add was this. This one was actually interesting as well. Was adding a 2-day free trial.
Yeah.
So the current experience with the product was you pay, you can't trial the product at all.
No.
You just have to pay and try it. So I thought, let me add a 2-day free trial to see if this improves conversion. So can I go open the door?
Yeah. Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you gonna edit this later or somehow?
Yeah.
Or?
I'll edit. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'll keep the record on.
I'll start it again. So the third A/B test was essentially adding a 2-day free trial to the product.
Yeah.
So the current experience was you have to pay to use the product. There's no trial. And so I thought maybe people would be more inclined to subscribe and convert if they could try it out first.
Yeah.
Again, the idea was, yeah. So the end result of this is actually I ended up getting the same amount of signups. But what happened was I made less, my revenue was lower.
Right.
And this is because people, because they're on a trial, they feel the need to try cancel it as soon as the 2 days are up.
Yeah.
And so I got more cancellations as a result. So actually then I just removed the free trial and carried on as things were.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so common now, free trials, and you'd hope that some just, convert over by default, but
yeah.
Okay, so you tested that one.
Yeah, the fourth one was actually I tried offering half price or free scholarship options.
Right.
Essentially, the idea was, so the price was $10 a month. Maybe there were some people who would be willing to pay maybe $5 a month, or weren't able to pay. But I still wanted to see if I could offer them a cheaper option.
Yeah.
And so what this was essentially, like, in the checkout flow, there was an option which said, look, if you can't afford a subscription, click here. And if you click there, it would ask you, okay, look, we can give you 50% off.
Yeah.
Or if you really want it for free, send me an email. And again, the idea would be this would, I know I would get less $10 a month conversions. I would get some $5 a month conversions, but overall my revenue would increase. So overall, this did increase my signups actually by 30%.
Okay.
But so more 30% because more people were opting for the $5.
Yeah.
$5 a month, the cheaper option. But overall, my revenue remained the same because a lot of people went for the half price option.
Yeah.
And sort of the net effect of it was just actually I was just making the same amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so actually I just decided to then remove the half price and the free option just because it was more headache to maintain it.
Yeah. Okay. And you got some traffic coming in from people asking for free as well.
Yeah, it wasn't as much as I would have thought.
No.
Um, but people did ask, and I was happy to give it to them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I guess there's like a community engagement angle there, isn't there?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Although actually now that I mentioned this to you, now I actually wonder if I should run the experiment again, but maybe do 75% off, 25% off instead of 50% off. But
Yeah.
maybe
Well, it
maybe
sounds like it's pretty quick and easy for you to run the tests as well, right? You just set them away for a couple of weeks or
they're easy. Yeah, I mean they're easy to set up. They don't usually take me more than a few hours, but then it's like you have to wait a few weeks to get the results.
yeah. Yeah.
It takes some time.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the last two, well, so the fifth one, this is the second last one, was actually probably the one that I think it almost doubled my revenue.
Right.
And this was actually changing from, instead of offering monthly pricing, instead of doing $10 a month, doing it as weekly. So doing $5 a week.
Okay.
And this idea came from talking from the founder of Teal, which is also in the job search and job application space. I forget what they do exactly.
Yeah.
But essentially what he said is like, look, if you're a job seeker, you don't actually expect to be searching for a job for like a month or two. You expect to like send out your CV, and hopefully in like 2 weeks you're done, right? You get your you get your interviews and then you're done. So you expect to do this quickly. So he recommended I offer, instead of like a month, which feels like a big commitment, do it per week.
Okay.
So I tried that, and obviously $5 a week, it turns out to be more expensive than $10 a month.
Yeah.
But overall, so my signups remained the same. So I got the exact same amount of signups.
Okay.
The churn was a bit higher in the weekly one.
Yeah.
And this makes sense because like, if you know you're going to have to pay something every week, you're more likely to cancel it the week. But overall, like my revenue increased.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, sorry. Overall, my revenue remained the same.
Right.
And so I decided to keep it. I tried to keep it as $5 per week, because the next experiment, what I wanted to do was actually then introduce monthly and annual pricing.
Yeah.
So the last one was doing $5 a week, $18 a month, or $60 a year.
Yeah.
And just, this way, people could get a bit of a discount, pay a bit more money up front, and not have to feel like they cancel each week.
Yeah.
This one increased my revenue a lot. So my revenue doubled from this experiment.
Yeah.
What was interesting for me was that a lot more people went for the annual subscription than I would have thought. It was about, I think it was something like 60% of people bought the weekly subscription, 30% bought the monthly one, and 10% bought, or 10 or 15% bought the annual one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess when you're looking at value, $5 a week, it's like, it's 12 weeks worth, but you're getting, a year's access. Like I think that's how I'd look at it anyway.
Yeah, it feels like a big discount actually as well, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for like the overemployed movement, as you mentioned, I would guess that they're a decent portion of your user base. And then so they want to stay on top of like, exactly what's going to be in their sweet spot. Adding a job. And that overemployed movement, just a slight segue, is that mainly tech jobs?
I'm not actually sure. I mean, I think it's mostly just remote jobs.
Okay.
I'm not sure. If it's mainly probably tech focused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what happened with that A/B test when you gave people more choice? What was the overall outcome?
With the pricing one?
Yes.
Which one?
The final one.
Yeah, the final one. So yeah, my revenue doubled. And I think I got the same amount of conversions overall, but like just people. I didn't actually. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the results. I didn't actually write down how the conversions changed.
Okay.
But I just know that my revenue my revenue doubled throughout the month.
Good. And so,
Yeah.
your process for A/B testing. So you would set them up and then leave them for 3 weeks, or do you have like definitive?
Yeah, usually 3 weeks is about enough.
Yeah.
It depends. It also like this number is different for every website and for what you're running an A/B test on, depending on how many users you have going through that funnel.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are A/B test calculators which tell you how long you should run an experiment for.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so have you got a lot of A/B tests planned for the future?
Nothing currently. There are more A/B tests planned for the future. Although now what I'm trying to do is build actually more job boards.
Okay.
So I've basically taken the same concept of remote rocket ship and now applied it to just different countries and different regions. So the first two that I've launched is called the first one is techjobscalifornia.com.
Right.
And the other one is techjobsnewyorkcity.com.
Okay.
And if you look at the website, it's very similar, except this includes remote, hybrid, and in-office jobs in different cities in these places. I'm going to do one also for the UK, one for Canada as well.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
And are these your custom build, and then you're replicating your website across?
Yeah, and pretty much the website is almost like copy pasting the code.
Yeah.
Changing a few bits here and there.
Yeah.
But essentially because I've already built the script which is scraping the jobs every day.
Yeah.
If I want to add a new region, like if I want to add in office jobs in California or something, it's a few lines of code and everything else is already set up to do it.
Yeah. Oh, great, fantastic. So they're pretty new websites. Have they just launched?
They just launched. Maybe 3 weeks ago, I launched the California, New York City one. I'm working on the UK one right now.
Cool.
And actually, surprisingly, they actually have a handful of subscribers already.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, yeah, if I can help push the UK one at all, yeah, definitely send it my way. I'll put it into LinkedIn.
I'll definitely send it to you.
Yeah. Good. So, for someone else, looking to create a lean business or maybe a side hustle alongside their 9 to 5, what one piece of advice might you give them?
I mean, I think the best piece of advice is to just really be intentional about your the effort it takes to do something versus the amount of impact it's going to produce. That's been I think that's been the most helpful to me. And I think always looking to cut corners in the effort.
Yeah.
So like, let's say, for example, like I know now I'm setting up a whole bunch of new different websites. I'm sure there's a more efficient way of just, instead of copy pasting the same code, creating a new website. Maybe there is a much fancier way I can do this that will scale more, but I know that if I just copy paste it, I could just get through it quickly, not have to think too much.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And has there been kind of one resource, I don't know, person, book, podcast that's had a really big influence on you?
I'm not sure about that.
No.
I think the first person who, so actually Phil from 4 Day Work Week, which I know you chatted to already.
Fantastic, yeah.
I think there were some of his tweets around SEO which convinced me that it was something that I could do, like something to get started on, and that's actually how I started my SEO journey.
Okay.
I can share with you the tweets after what he wrote.
Yeah, that would be
made
great.
me feel like, oh, this is something I could do.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, yeah, he really knows his onions on that stuff, and he's done a fantastic job. Like, seeing how he's rule things out, and 4-day weeks are obviously like an emotive kind of working culture similar to remote, right? It's like this new modality
Yeah,
of working. It doesn't feel new anymore, but if you rewind to when he launched 4-day week, it was like 2020. Um,
yeah,
like and then obviously accessing remote jobs, like the full spread of remote jobs has still been a challenge for candidates, and obviously they're willing to pay you to get access to all of them, rather than gating it to employers. So yeah, it's really hitting on those trends.
yeah,
So where can
yeah.
people learn more about you and your businesses?
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter. My handle's Lior NN. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn. Um, yeah. Otherwise, I've got my Substack, which I occasionally write posts on, like interesting things or problems that I've come across.
Yeah.
Although I'm posting there less frequently these days.
Okay.
Um,
You find Substack useful when you do publish?
Yeah, I do. I find that every time I write a post, always interesting people reach out and I'll have interesting conversations from there.
Yeah.
And it also helps me just, one, it helps me clear up my thinking. So
Mhm.
usually like I have something in my head and if I put it down on a post, it helps me clear up what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But two, also I like to have it as just like a reference for myself to like, save to remember like these thoughts that I had. So for example, the post I wrote on A/B testing was really like, I've run all these A/B tests. I've learned all these things. I don't want to forget about it. I'm going to write a post.
Yeah.
And so I'm also writing for myself.
Yeah. Well, that's how I found you as well, is your Substack. I think like following a bit of your journey as well. So it's definitely just useful for kind of growing network and meeting like-minded people, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. And next for you would be continuing growing remote rocket ship and then also syndicating out to other markets.
Yeah, so the next step is grow into other markets.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you very much, for sharing. It's really interesting hearing about your journey. And I didn't actually know that you'd gone back to 9 to 5. I just assumed you were full time on rocket ship. So the fact that you're running 3, soon to be 4 job boards, and you've got a full-time job, it's the epitome of what we're like to learn about in the newsletter. So yeah, really, Eric, thank you. Uh,
No worries.
awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Alex.